Hello, Jen here, and I'm coming to you with another update on my dental work, palate expansion, which I am doing to really help reverse some TMJ issues that I was having. And yeah, so it's been really good progress over these past few months. I think the last update I did was probably, it's been a couple months for sure. And so if you haven't seen any of these videos, I invite you to go back and watch them from the beginning so you can kind of see the process that has taken place really over the past year and a half at this point. So the first thing I started out with in this whole process of upper palate expansion and moving my lower jaw forward, because again, the issues that I was experiencing that led me down this path was ear pressure. I was having a lot of pressure in my ears and had seen a number of different doctors and they couldn't figure anything out. And truly it was through my breath work that led me to the ultimate issue and resolution. So, as I went through breathwork training a few years ago, the more I continue to learn about our breath and, of course, its function, but then I started to learn about the role of our mouth and our facial structure, and really looking at facial structure and tongue posture, and then, of course, how we're breathing, because when we're kids, when we're developing, all of that plays a really big role in the development of your face. And so there's a few things that come into play. So one is tongue posture. Is the tongue resting on the upper palate of the mouth? Because that helps shape and expand and grow the upper palate. And also the food you're eating. So we know through science now and research and just looking at indigenous cultures, cultures that eat foods that, one, are nutrient dense, but two, that you have to chew a lot, that really helps with facial structure and growing a healthy face and having that strong jaw. And so all of this to say, I had a lot of dental work done as a kid because I had a small mouth. And so I had lots of baby teeth pulled. I had a couple permanent teeth pulled. And of course, I had my wisdom teeth pulled like most of us do these days, right? And what I can pretty much guarantee, because I've had to retrain myself to do this, is my tongue was not resting on the upper palate. It always just fell. It always sat on the lower jaw, like down, instead of resting up like it's intended to. And I also wasn't breathing properly. I wasn't breathing through my nose a lot of the time. So nose breathing, tongue posture, nutrition all play a really big role in facial structure and how a child's face grows. And so, fast forward, a couple decades. and I, after having all this dental work done as a kid and having, braces multiple times and teeth pulled and everything to make my teeth look really nice and pretty and straight, I started experiencing crowding in my lower teeth. Like, they started getting crooked again. And I started experiencing ear pressure. And so, again, through my knowledge of the breath and then moving that into facial structure and tongue posture and all these other things, I learned, oh my gosh, this is the issue, that my upper palate ultimately is too small. It was pushing my lower jaw back, pushing up into my ears. So got hooked up to an incredible dentist that is trained in this, very forward thinking, happens to live in the city I live in, which I'm so thankful for. And so I've been going through this process. So go back and watch those videos if you haven't seen it, because I'm in phase 3, which is the final phase. So I've been doing, in this process for a year and a half, and now I'm in the braces. So I've done the upper palate expansion. continuing to expand my palate as well. So what I want to update you on today is, I guess since the last video, I've done what they call, in this dental work that they do, they call it bumps. So I've had a couple bumps done, where they set the wire on the top a certain way. Don't ask me how they do all of this. It's still a mystery to me, but they set the wire on the top a certain way to where it's going to continue to expand my upper palate. Okay, so I did phase 2 was palate expansion. I had a specific device in my mouth to expand my palate, and expanded probably around 4.5 millimeters. I don't know that exact number, but it was something in that range. And then they've continued to expand using these braces. These are a very special type of braces. You can't do this with Invisalign or anything like that. Otherwise, trust me, I would. But these are very functional in this specific function. So I've done a couple bumps that continue to expand my upper palate and make space, which is why currently, if you can see, I have a gap in in the middle of my 2 front teeth that will not remain, thankfully. And actually I just got back from the dentist, and they did another adjustment, which is going to close that gap. So that'll be very nice. But it's been amazing to see how much more the palate has expanded over the last couple of months, just by doing what they do with the braces. It's quite noticeable, actually. I have noticed even more room for my tongue to rest in my upper palate. Like, it just feels easier now. And of course, in this whole process, I work with a team. And so I've got my dentist, and then I also have an osteopathic doctor who does body work, because again, it's all connected. Doing work on the neck. I've got certain stretches I get to do to really like loosen up muscles in the neck that were pretty tight. And so he does a lot of different body work. And then in the beginning, for a while, I was seeing an orofacial myofunctional therapist, I think is the name. It's a long word. All that to say, she helps you with tongue posture and swallowing. So I've really gotten to work on correcting my tongue posture so my tongue rests where it's intended to, because that's something we're never taught that as a kid. Ideally, it just happens. It's like innate. But if your palate's too small and all these other things, it's going to adapt. And so really retraining all of this, where my tongue gets to rest. And so that's been a whole lot easier to keep my tongue up in the upper palate, has been much easier lately. And the other thing that may need to be done at some point is a tongue tie release. And so they're actually doing that a lot more with kids now, with babies. But like, you have this little thing underneath your tongue. And for some people, it's really tight. And that can cause issues as well. That can contribute to your tongue not resting on your upper palate, or it can cause tightness in the neck. It can contribute to a lot of things. And so the tongue tie release may be the next thing that gets to be done, is they just kind of snip it and it loosens everything up. And so your tongue is a muscle, and it is connected to everything. I mean, I've heard incredible stories of how people with high anxiety did a tongue tie release and their anxiety went away. Like, you think of, someone who is tense and tightly wound, and then you snip it and like that tightness is released, and it has been known to affect like the whole person. I've heard stories of how someone gets a tongue tie release and their flexibility improves. Like they were really tight all over in their body, and now they can bend, they can lean over and touch their toes. So really, really remarkable. I'll talk more about that in another video, but I did just want to share an update on the progress here and how I've noticed a good amount of expansion in my upper palate. My tongue rests up there a whole lot easier now. I think my swallowing has even improved. I never thought there was an issue with swallowing, but when I was working with the doctor, it was interesting. Like I would swallow and like one of my eyebrows would raise every time I swallowed. And that is a sign of just, again, overcompensation in different areas. And so realizing and learning that like, as we expand this upper palate, things start to go back into balance. The body wants to be in homeostasis. And so as you make room, as you make space, as you allow for it to be in that way, it naturally goes back. And so there's been really, really good progress lately with this whole process. I still have a bit of time in the braces because they will be moving some of the back teeth forward, so everything kind of lines up and fits well together. But yeah, so it's been a continued expansion, and I'll look forward to keeping you updated on how things are going. But I will just show a picture. I'll try to get close up because I know I've gotten questions in some of my past videos of like, can you show the inside of your mouth closer up? And that's really kind of difficult for me to do with a camera like this. I can't really stick it in my mouth, but I'll do the best I can so you can kind of see, because you'll notice it's not just braces. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. You'll see there's wires on the inside that act both as a retainer and an expander, interestingly enough. And then I have bite pads on the bottom that help, as everything's moving and shifting, they help keep my lower jaw aligned and forward. So on my back bottom teeth, I have these bite pads. So it's I'll just have to show you. You'll see. Right. So they're sitting on top of my teeth. So they're actually keeping my lower jaw positioned where it needs to be. And then you see I've got this wire on the bottom. And then I also have one on the top. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. And so that's what's going on in here. It's a lot. And, but it's been really helpful. So I know there's been lots of questions on some of the previous videos, a lot of curiosity. It is a process. So one thing I would say, if this is something you're considering, make sure, just do your research and find a dentist that really knows what they're doing, that they're well trained in, again, a whole body approach. Like they understand the role of the breath. They understand tongue posture. They understand, having a doctor that does body work even, and also they understand the role of emotions, because emotions definitely can play into it as well. I've heard especially multiple stories. Again, I'll do a separate video on this, but around tongue tie release and how that alone can release a lot of emotional stuff. So having a doctor that can help process emotions, which is what one of my doctors that I'm working with does, because there's a lot of things moving, and energetically, there can be some emotional components to that as well. So really finding someone that takes a very holistic approach and is very meticulous, is like doing all of the scans to look at everything, and isn't just saying, oh yeah, let's just do this, it'll be a quick fix. No. Like it could potentially be a longer process. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody, but potentially. And so what this is good for, this whole process that I'm going through, great for TMJ and airway. So if you have restricted airway, you're not breathing well, maybe you're not sleeping well at night. So I actually have a friend and colleague of mine who went through the exact same process because her issue was sleep. It turns out she had upper airway restriction that was causing it. And this whole process is what helped her. So it's amazing all the different things that can be linked to your facial structure, your mouth, your tongue posture, and your breath. So the breath plays a crucial role here. If you're not breathing through your nose, if there's one place you can start immediately without paying any money, it's that. Start breathing through your nose. Begin that practice, and especially at night, use mouth tape. If you're a mouth breather at night, or if you don't know if you are, start using mouth tape. I've got a video on that. You can find it on YouTube, and I'll put it in the description as well. Get mouth tape and start sleeping with mouth tape at night to start to train yourself how to breathe through your nose, and that will make such a huge impact, that alone, in your overall health. And then you might need to consider some of these other methods as well. But share your comments, share your questions. But wanted to offer an update on where I'm at in the process, and hopefully you guys find this helpful for you as well. All right, bye.